Yes. Okay, so let's get this started. Picture this. Imagine the sun is setting on the coast. The sky is doing that unfair thing where it turns gold and then purple. The water is calm and you're sitting there. For a moment, life feels peaceful. Yeah, let that sink in. Until suddenly, a giant ship slides into your view and blocks it, like it's paid for the seat you're sitting in. So, it's not one of those cute little sailboats, it's one of these gigantic ships. So, you stand up, annoyed, and you try to see past it. And that's when you notice something really weird. See, the captain, he isn't really relaxing, but rather he's working. He's repairing his ship, that's what he's doing. He's replacing the planks, and he's replacing the nails and the screws and the railing and everything. So, week after week, the ship returns and it leaves, and every time you see it, something old has been replaced with something new, until eventually, nothing original is left on the ship. So at that point, you walk up to the captain, and you ask him, "Hey, captain, what have you done?" And he looks at you like you're missing the obvious, and he tells you, "Well, I've repaired my ship." And you look at him and you ask him, "Babe, is this really the same ship you started with?" He looks at you blankly and you ask him, "If every original piece of your ship has been swapped, is it really the same ship as before?" And he looks at you even more blankly, because now both of you have walked into a 2,000-year-old philosophy trap. Welcome to the club. So let's pause the story here. My name is Ez, and this is the ship of Theseus. Except it's not really about ships or about wood. It's more about you and it's about me. It's about identity and change and a weird slippery thing we call essence. Or for us humans in the audience, humanity. So the problem actually isn't that we don't know the answer to our question, but rather we don't know the type of question we're asking. So I'm going to be here to clarify that for you. So let's address the elephant in the room. In what sense are humans like ships? Because clearly we're not made of wood. And quite frankly, we don't float like ships. And more importantly, we don't get repaired with hammers. I mean, at least I hope not. So in what sense are humans like ship? Well, the similarity, it isn't physical, but rather it's structural. Like that ship, our bodies constantly change. They evolve, we grow. Same with our opinions, our thoughts, our experiences. Everything about us changes. So we have to face the question now. If everything about you changes, why does the word me still make sense? So if we need to ask the question, why does the word me still make sense? We need to find out what changes. So since everything changes about you, you don't get destroyed and you're still here. Here's where things get really interesting. Because if we aren't dependent on our parts, since we're obviously all here, then we must be dependent on something else. Something we use all the time, we rely on all the time, even if we don't name it. That thing is what we call essence. So here's an example. Ladies and gentlemen, a question to you all. The very chairs you sit on, what color are they? How tall are they? Well, you see the thing here, it doesn't matter if your chairs are tall or if they're short. It doesn't matter if they're comfortable or if they're useless, or if they're black, blue, or brown, or rainbow for all I care. But the moment a chair loses its ability to be sat on, it is no longer a chair, because the ability to be sat on is essential to the chair, and everything else is just extra. Likewise, that's why every change doesn't destroy you, because your identity isn't dependent on parts, but rather it's dependent on something underneath, at your core. So let's apply this idea to us. If there are many things in us that get replaced and don't. There are things that make you human, like everyone here. There are things that make you specifically you. The things that make you human are cognition, your ability to think, to feel, to understand, and to reflect on my beautiful speech. And there are things that make you distinctly you. For example, your style, your opinion, your thoughts, your experiences, and your body. Those things make you distinctly you. Now, the things that make you you, they change, and they change a lot. You weren't the same person you were 10 years ago. So the reason those things change and your identity doesn't get demolished or evolved into something else is because they are not essential to you. They are not part of your essence. That's why if your body changes or if you outgrow who you used to be in the past, your identity doesn't get destroyed. because it doesn't depend on those things. So now we can finally answer the question we started with. What things in you change? Well, the things in you that change are your body, your opinion, and your thoughts, your experiences. These things change. But the better question we need to ask is what doesn't change? Now, the things that don't change, that glue that stays there, that keeps you who you are, that is what made you human in the first place. And that is why this 2,000-year-old philosophy problem isn't about ships or wood or planks, but rather it's about identity. Does identity live in the parts that get replaced, or does it live in the essence that survives their replacement? So, if the ship can still be the same ship after everything has been changed, then quite frankly, maybe the same could be said for everyone here in the room. So, if the ship doesn't change after everything's been replaced in it, the same is said for us, that maybe our identity doesn't live in our parts, but lives in something that holds them together, something underneath. And you see, ladies and gentlemen, whatever that thing is, underneath everything, holding you together, that thing that makes you human, that is what you are. Thank you very much.